Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Starkiller for Noobs. Upon popular request, I recently unlocked Starkiller on my small account, the GoTanks account, and while I've had him for years on my main account and haven't used him quite as much in this capacity, this is a very important lineup for Starkiller. And up through most leagues, until you get to like High Kyber, Kyber 1, Kyber 2, it's going to be very useful for you and super handy in taking down Rey, sometimes Supreme or Kylo, Java, random GLs, but our demonstration is going to be about facing Rey in Grand Arena. Now, it's a unique team because Starkiller is the main focus of the team, but he's not in the leader slot. He is an extremely flexible character, and you just have to meet a few requirements to run him. So we're going to be looking at his unique first. You need this exact combination in 5v5, one additional Sith, Jedi, light side unaligned force user and dark side unaligned force user. So every type of force user basically on each side of the alignment. He himself is a dark side unaligned force user, but you need one more in there. And you're going to get a ton of extra stuff for him. If you're not in Grand Arenas, that gets you 100% crit damage and max health still. 100% max protection until the first time he's defeated. And he can come back if you run the certain comp with Visas. You get 35 speed and you're immune to daze and stun. So all that is even outside of Grand Arena. What's very important for him is that you do at least get his unique Omicron to maximize his potential in Grand Arena. So it's all the same conditions, but then there's a few extra things happen. Jedi tank allies taunt for one turn. You don't have to run a Jedi tank, but that is the benefit to having them. You get an extra 35 speed on top of that 35 speed, so 70 speed for everybody. Debuffed enemies deal 50% less damage. Why this is especially helpful for Rey. That even applies to a whirlwind triple massive damage. So instead of doing like 300,000 or so, it's 150,000 or so. Whenever a Sith ally uses a basic ability, Starkiller assists, dealing 20% less damage. And we're running a Palpatine team here, but that is actually kind of useful with Darth Vader. If it goes a Merciless Massacre, you do a bunch of basics. Starkiller's always assisting, so just keep that in mind. Whenever another Dark Side Ufu uses a special ability, all allies gain critical hit immunity for one turn. So with Mara Jade under Palpatine, you're going to be getting a lot of turns with her, and she's going to do plenty of specials because she has two, and they both basically give her full turn meter. So you're going to have a lot of crit immunity. Then whenever Starkiller uses a special ability, light side healer allies, we're thinking Visas here, that's what his kit was kind of designed for, or who his kit was kind of designed for. They have their cooldowns reduced by 4. And then Jedi tank allies gain damage immunity and taunt for one turn. So that's another reason Jedi tank allies are super helpful. Even if they don't have a natural taunt to them. Like Old Ben isn't like always taunting. He doesn't have the most taunts to draw on. He has one special. You usually don't use it first. But you're going to force a taunt and damage immunity. It's super useful. So that's his first and most important unique. In Starkiller's other unique is all about him. While this is kind of like a mini leadership, his Force Energy unique is about juicing him up. It's a Zeta, but not an Omicron. It's a fantastic Zeta. Starkiller has 30% counter chance. Yeah, just adds like 20% of a bunch of things. 30% counter chance, crit chance, defense penetration, and offense. So plenty of different stats, and he's immune to fear. That part's only with the Zeta though. He gains 4 stacks of Force Energy. Goes up to 100 each time he deals damage, and his basic is an AoE, which we'll look at. So you're getting lots of stacks, and he's got another AoE. At 100, he loses all stacks, gets unleashed until the end of the battle. So that unleashed is a stat on him. He can't gain he can't gain more force energy, and other abilities gain different effects. And while he's unleashed, he gets another 70% counter chance, crit chance, defense, penetration, and offense. So he is quite powerful while unleashed. But a lot of times you might even win before he gets there, or that might be the finishing blow. So you don't always see these stat boosts all the time. But when he gets there, he's going to dispel debuffs on himself, take a bonus turn, reset his cooldowns, and get the ability Size Means Nothing. This is his Star Destroyer ability. He pulls it out of the sky. It's also a healing Star Destroyer. He does 80% of his max health damage to all enemies and stuns them, which can't be resisted. So this is where it's kind of a trade-off. You want a lot of health on him, but you want a lot of damage. And you can really go all in on one or the other, or try to do a balance of both. But most of the time, from my point of view, I go more the offense route. I give him a crit damage triangle, because you're not always relying on this entirely. You want him to be able to do damage throughout the whole battle, not just with his big hit. But that said, still do a health primary on his circle. And then all allies recover 100% health and protection. If it defeats an enemy, he takes another bonus turn. So that's all fantastic. And what are you going to do on his turn? So typically my opening move in a lot of cases is Force Repulse. Without the Omicron, dispels all buffs on target enemy and does an AoE. It does 5% more damage for each buff dispelled. But again, that's only on the target enemy. The other Omicron, and I usually talk about all Omicrons later, and I will, but I think this is the second Omicron you want to put on the team. I think you definitely want these two, and we're not going to go for Boundless Force Throw. And that's just my preference, and I'll talk about that. But this is very important. It's dispelling all buffs on all enemies, and all that does, well, if he's unleashed, you get the 25% more, but dispelling all the buffs on all enemies, that's handy as a utility function, just getting the buffs off, but it really increases the damage he's doing. And then while he's unleashed, it's just a crazy amount. So he really gets going once he gets that unleashed. Second move, I tend to use the basic a lot. It is a Zeta. He deals physical damage to target enemy twice, and if we don't have the Zeta, and it's Starkiller's turn, inflicts shock for 1 turn. While unleashed, reduce special ability cooldowns by 1. But we have the Zeta, which it's definitely very good Zeta. He deals physical damage to all other enemies, which can't be countered. So he has an AoE basic, and with his unleashed function, the force energy, that's what gets you a lot more stacks. So if you don't have Zeta, you're severely reducing his force energy potential and getting to that unleashed. So just fantastic. And this unleashed ability, reducing cooldowns, that's going to happen whether it's his turn or not. So you can really get around to his abilities off cooldowns frequently. Now this is on my main account, and in 4 years or so of having him, I still have not applied this Omicron. The reason I don't apply the Omicron is because it only affects him while he's unleashed. And as I've been talking about, a lot of battles just finish way before he is unleashed. So without it, it's no Zeta, just a thing, just purple mans and stuff. Do physical damage to target enemy and inflict daze and vulnerable for 2 turns, which can't be resisted, and gets 25 stacks of force energy. And then since he's hitting 1 enemy, he's also getting another 4 or something. I think so. It's like 29 or 30 maybe. Can't be evaded. While unleashed, he's going to do buff immunity and healing immunity, and they can't be resisted. While unleashed, he's going to dispel all debuffs on all allies, and the buff immunity and healing immunity can't be, they're like undispellable, which is fine. But usually when you need them to be undispellable is before he gets unleashed. Where it really helps is if you're trying to take down Rey and you want her to be debuffed so she doesn't do all the extra damage. You want to reduce her damage by 50%. You want the debuffs to stick. But once you get to Unleashed, the battle's pretty close to over. So I just think this is a bit of a win more. Omicron, it's only really benefiting you if you're in a winning position. So that's Starkiller, that's his kit. Now we're going to talk about how the rest of the team forms around him and why we care about this particular lineup. In the absolute core is Palpatine and Mara Jade. That's the team you typically use in 3v3. He's open for a lot more creativity in 3v3. On my main account, I use Ser Junda and Malicos, and his unique still applies because it's a light side Ufu, dark side Ufu, and it's a crazy powerful team. But for most players, the noobs of Squads for Noobs are going to want to run Palpatine and Mara Jade because Mara Jade is one of his unlocked characters, and Palpatine is a very popular early game character that I advocate for most players to go for. So the most important thing about him is his leadership. Empire and Sith allies have 35% potency and max health. Well, let's look without the Zeta first. Jedi and Rebel enemies have minus 35% potency and 35% evasion. Whenever an Empire ally inflicts a debuff on their turn, so that's Mara Jade, inflict 20% turn meter. And then if they're Sith, they get health recovery. So that's just him in this team. He's getting a health recovery. But his Zeta, which is a very important Zeta, I'll talk about the Zeta Order in a little bit. But when a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire and Sith allies gain 5% turn meter. So him and Mara Jade are going to get lots of turn meter from all these debuffs, dispelling. They are the main inflictors of debuffs too. But we'll talk about how that helps a little bit in Mara Jade's kit. Another awesome thing about Palpatine, I don't think you absolutely have to have his Zeta necessarily, but it gives him a lot of survivability. Without the Zeta, he's just each turn dealing 20% max health damage to enemies for each of the following 3 conditions. They're a Jedi, they're a Rebel, and they're shocked. So if you have like Old Ben or Kanan Jarrus or something, and they're shocked, they're going to get 60% damage each turn. If you just have a Jedi like General Kenobi or something, and they're shocked, that's 40% damage. And then you just have a random character that's shocked, like Rey, who is not Jedi or Rebel, they're going to get 20% if they're shocked. So that's a nice little bit of extra damage. So you kind of want to leave shock out there if you can, but you can control whether you use up that shock or dispel it on them. It's kind of a unique circumstance. Normally you can't dispel debuffs on the enemy team, but if you do his AoE, that's a stun. Normally it's a 70% chance to stun enemies for 1 turn, but if they're shocked, you dispel the shock and then they have stun for 2 turns. And also all allies gain offensive for 2 turns, which is great that it's all allies because it applies to Starkiller, increasing his damage even more. So sometimes you want to pull that if you really want to stun, but if you want everyone to have shock, which you might because of how his basic works, you might want to hold off on the stun. The way his basic works, it does inflict shock for 3 turns, but he gets 15% turn meter for each shocked enemy out there. So if you have like a team with a summon, like Geonosians or something, they can have 6. He can get 90% turn meter. If it's just a team of 5 and they're all shocked, that's a max of 75% turn meter, but still lots of turn meter trained for him. And with Starkiller on the team, when he uses a basic, Starkiller is going to assist if you have that Omicron. That's not going to happen outside of Grand Arena. That's one reason you also might want to go for the basic, because it's not just him doing damage, it's Starkiller. So that's what we want to keep in mind when we're trying to hold off on doing the AoE. This ability, I don't use it quite as much. It takes 5% health from everybody, enemies and allies. So it hits under your protection, and then Palpatine heals up. So mainly this is a bailout, I think, for him healing up. And he gets 50% turn meter for each shocked enemy, so like you can kind of cycle through his turns a little bit. It also gains health steal up for 1 turn, which honestly is the most useful thing in Conquest, because it seems like that's always a feat health steal up, and he's my go-to for that. But that's Palpatine. He is our leader. Next, we got Mara Jade, who's typically our first character to take a turn. You want to make her fast. I don't have mine super fast on my main account because I've been deprioritizing her. I don't use her as much, so I took away her good square and a good diamond. But she gets a lot of nice stuff. I don't have her Territory War Omicron. I know it's a staple. I do have the Juhani one, which plays into this team, but you know, we don't use it quite. It's not quite as useful as it used to be, so I kind of held out long enough to where it kind of got obsoleted for me. But it's still decent. If you like Territory Wars, it's a great early Omicron. But without the Omicron, if Palpatine's the leader at the start, which he is here, Emperor allies get 20% offense and potency. Very nice, because we love the potency on this team. All other dark side allies gain useful pawn until the end of the encounter, so that'll be Starkiller, which can't be covered or dispelled. And she gets 10% crit chance, crit damage, and offense for each ally with useful pawns, so she'll get one stack. At the start of Mara Jade's turn, she gains a stack of Loyal Hand until the end of the encounter, and then if Palpatine's an ally, she also gains another stack. So she'll get 2 stacks each turn, and Loyal Hand is 10% max protection in offense. And the useful pawn actually hurts Starkiller a little bit, but it's not a ton. 5% crit chance, crit damage, and offense. So, it is what it is. And this is kind of just a funny little throw-in, kind of a lore illusion. If Jedi Knight Luke is on the enemy team, she blinds him for 1 turn at the start of her turn. So he's blinded by his love for her, even though she's evil, is blinded. So that's just a funny little thing. Not super impactful, but it can help against you know, the JML team, which I have had it. Well, I lost, but I did face that. I did see the blind. I was like, oh, look at that. She's got 2 AoEs. I don't have this Zeta. This is my main account where I have so many Zetas. I still don't have this Zeta. This ability deals double damage to shocked enemies and Jedi. The reason I don't have it, and I don't think you should really go for it either, is this is not a ability meant to deal a lot of damage. Like, you don't care how much damage this does. This is a utility function. You dispel all buffs and inflict stun and vulnerable on 1 target enemy for 1 turn, but then for all enemies, it's going to deal special damage and then inflict tenacity down for 1 turn. So that's really nice. She has plenty of potency typically, but the tenacity down makes her even more likely to land all her debuffs. So it's kind of a debate whether you use this special first or ultimate predator. I feel like a lot of times I use the first special first to get the tenacity down, but you might want to do this one first if you need her to stealth. So what this ability does, this is a Zeta. I do have this one. It's not incredible. It's not a huge priority. We'll talk about it in the Zeta order, but deal special damage to all enemies, inflict offense down, shock, and stagger for 2 turns. Stagger is very nice because once you hit it, it goes away. And under Palpatine's leadership, that does count as a debuff being dispelled, so you get 25% turn meter for her and Palpatine. Mara Jade gains stealth for 2 turns, and without the Zeta, 1.25% turn meter for each debuff inflicted by the ability. So she's already getting plenty of turn meter from Palpatine's lead. She's almost guaranteed a 2nd turn unless there's something she's shocked or something, or she's prevented from getting turn meter, like you're facing JMK or something. But if you do get turn meter, you're usually going to do both of these back to back. Where you could want to do this is if you think you're not going to get a 2nd turn and you want Palpatine to get the turn meter first, or you really want her to stealth. You would go with this first, otherwise go with this. And against Rey, I typically use Ultimate Predator first to dispel crit immunity on her, because we need to be able to crit her to get rid of her Inspired. And that is the main counter. And then her basic is quite nice too. Deals special damage twice and inflict daze. So daze on a basic, not bad. If Palpatine's the leader, he assists if it's Mara Jade's turn. Otherwise, a random ally with useful pawn assists, dealing 50% less damage. So if she attacks outside of her turn, I think that means Palpatine assists, or no, Starkiller assists. But if it's on her turn, she'll attack, Palpatine will do his basic, and then Starkiller will assist. So you get a whole big kind of chain. Palpatine's going to get the turn meter from however many people have shock. So it's just a nice thing. All of her turns are kind of gold on this team, and that's why she works just so well on the team. And the other two, the light side people, they're less critical, but they are kind of designed into his kit. So Old Ben is kind of a popular choice, but Visas is the one really designed for it. She doesn't do a ton. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on her. She can give Hellsteel up too for 1 turn, so this is a great conquest team. But I mean, you don't get Starkiller's Omicrons, but you get 2 Hellsteel characters. It's recover health. This is a revive ability though, so you want to save this until someone's dead, or if you really just want Hellsteel up. And why Starkiller is kind of designed around her, this has an insanely high cooldown, but he reduces her cooldown by 4 when he does specials. This ability gives defense penetration up for 2 turns. The basics kind of like a little dispel. It's not super important. I don't even have this Zeta either on my main account with like hundreds and hundreds of Zetas. But because all it does is while she has no debuffs, she has a 60% chance to assist when another ally attacks a Sith enemy once per turn. It's only limited to attacking Sith, so whatever. But all her unique does, if she has no debuffs, she has counter chance. That's it. That's her whole unique. So she's kind of a dud, except for the revive, which hopefully you don't even need. So you can easily slot in a random unaligned Force user and make it work fine, like stick Rey if you need her, Jedi or Ufu Cal. She's not that important, but you just need to fulfill the requirement to have a Ufu. The Jedi, I think it's preferred that you pick a tank. And why Old Ben is a popular choice is just because of his mind tricks. He reduces enemies' turn meter by 60%. Well, it's an 80% chance for it. All these older kits is always like a chance to do something, maybe. But he does an ability block on all enemies for 1 turn and offense down for 2 turns. And then he's going to give some turn meter to Jedi and Rebels, but that would just be mainly him. So that's the big value to me for him. Really, any Jedi tank is going to get that damage immunity and taunt from Starkiller Force. So he's not special in that regard. He can taunt with this, kind of whatever. We don't care about his lead. He's unique. Whenever a Jedi or Rebel ally takes damage, so it's just him on this team, he gets 5% turn meter. And if he's defeated, all allies gain offense up and speed up for 2 turns, recover health and protection, gain turn meter. So that does help the team because it's not limited to factions. So kind of if he dies, he could be brought back by Visas, but you're also getting a nice little boost to the team. As basic, again for Conquest, this is kind of useful. Evasion down for 2 turns, and it can't be evaded. So it's actually kind of nice. I run him with JML, spam that basic ability, and get a lot of evasion down if I need it. But yeah, he's kind of a... You could do anything. I love General Kenobi here, because General Kenobi is extremely versatile. You get foresight all over the place, crit immunity. When anyone gets crit, they get crit immunity. You already have some crit immunity on the team, but he's getting lots of crit immunity. His abilities don't have any restrictions to like Jedi or Galactic Republic or anything. This is all allies assist if they're buffed. This is dispel debuffs on all allies. Retribution if they don't have any debuffs. If they do have debuffs that aren't unique or anything, you get the opposite version of them. And foresight on the base. So if you don't have anywhere else for him to go, which is rare for endgame players, I think he is absolutely fantastic. But then one last mention, which we'll talk about a little bit in the... I'm going to talk about her Omicron only. But she is only... Juhani is kind of a dud tank. All of her, as far as I'm concerned, her kit is nothing. She doesn't have a kit. Like, all I want to look at is her Territory War Omicron. This is the only value she has. At the start of the battle, Juhani taunts for 2 turns. Then Juhani, a random Darkside Unaligned Force user ally, excluding Empire, hint hint, wink wink, so not Mara Jade, Starkiller, First Order and Galactic Legends, so all of it. And a random light side Ufu, so if you're on Visas, that's her. They get redeemed until she's defeated. So redeemed, it's kind of like a mini activation of Starkiller's unique. A lot of the same things kind of happen, or it makes him more useful in TW. 35 speed. Whenever an ally with redeemed uses an ability, all other allies with redeemed assist. So that's her or Visas or whatever. And that gets, the main point is you get Starkiller to assist. Whenever an ally with redeemed gains a buff, dispel all debuffs on all allies with redeemed. Whenever an ally with redeemed is damaged by an enemy, all allies with redeemed gain 50% turn meter. Then whenever an ally with redeemed is inflicted with a debuff, all allies with redeemed recover protection. So a lot of healing, a lot of turn meter, a lot of attacking for redeemed allies. And the whole point is for Starkiller to doing more attacks. So he gets more turns, he gets more force energy, he can get to his Star Destroyer and all that. So that's really the only reason to use Juhani, kind of a TW Omi, or if you don't have anything else in Grand Arena, but really just need to fit the requirement in a Jedi tank is pretty much ideal. So now the Zeta Order. I think this is really easy. I don't think you need a ton of Zetas on this team. I think you need 3. And then the 4th one is kind of nice. You want Starkillers first. Arguably, you want his basic first, because it makes it an AoE. But 1 and 2 are Force Energy and Starkiller's basic. Both very important, very impactful. Honestly, you don't really want to throw him to the dogs until he has his unique Omicron and both Zetas. But those are 1 and 2. 3rd Zeta is Palpatine's lead. Turn meter for debuffs expiring. But that's not quite as important because that's not affecting the turn meter that Mara Jade gets from debuffs on her turn. It's just debuffs that get dispelled or expire. So she's gonna get most of that turn meter anyway. So that's number 3. It's nice to have. It's not you can't do anything without it, but it is really good. The 4th one I'd say is kind of nice is Palpatine's unique, because it gives him a lot of protection, increases protection if he has shock. So that's a lot of protection, and Rey tends to target him if there's no taunt. She hits him with a whirlwind, and that really helps him survive. So that's it. Mara Jade's like this one, I still don't have. I don't think it's important at all. This one's very minor. Palpatine gets some turn meter for debuffs inflicted with this ability. That's not necessary either. To use in GAC, you actually don't need any Zetas on Mara Jade. And then if like her Omicron is more important than her Zetas, even though that's only in TW. We don't care about Visas' Zeta. Old Ben, like the boosts for him dying, that's not a priority. Don't worry about it. And then his other Zeta, don't worry about it either. It's an extra taunt if taunt expires. I mean, it's something, I guess, but you're only really... He's not that great at taunting. You only want him to taunt if he's got his taunt forced by Starkiller and he has damage immunity at the same time. And even if you use GK, who's awesome, you don't care about his Zeta because all it has to do with is Galactic Republic. So this is really a 3 Zeta team, a 4 Zeta team, and then you're just fine and dandy. And Omicron's, like I talked about, Starkiller's unique is absolute top priority. That makes the team what it is. It's like its identity. The raw dispel, this makes it so much easier to beat Rey. Just a mass dispel is super valuable. So I think those are 1 and 2. I talked about Juhani's Omicron. If you want to run him in TW, that's number 3. Like, that's a priority. Because I have hers. I don't have Mara Jades. My guild asked me to do Juhani's. They didn't ask me to do Mara Jades because it actually takes a team you already built up and lets you use it in TW as well as Grand Arena. But that said, Mara Jade's Omicron is quite good. At the start of the battle, if the enemy leader is not a GL, they lose all their protection temporarily. It's not like Sith Eternal siphoned away their protection. They don't have any. It's just it's like they got damaged to the point they lost all their protection. They lose half of their max protection though, so it's like he's siphoned away half their protection. And then Mara Jade gains 100% turn meter. Whenever an enemy unit is defeated, inflict vulnerable for 1 turn on a random enemy which can't be prevented, and all allies gain 20% max protection. So the max protection increase, that vulnerable, that's nice. The main thing is getting to go first. And since she goes absolutely first and no one has any other turn meter, you really get a turn meter train going in TW. The limitation is it doesn't work against any Galactic Legends. So a common, this used to be used a lot against General Skywalker. I can't remember the last time I saw General Skywalker in Territory Wars. But yeah, so it's kind of useful. Early game, it's actually pretty useful, but that's only if you're really focused on TW. But I think if you want to use them in TW, you only really need the Juhani Omicron. And that's all the Omicrons on the team. Starkiller, heavy priority, other 2 TW. Only if you're into that thing. Next up, let's look at my mods. Then I'm going to look at Swig.gg's mods and give my commentary. Palpatine, I already know I kind of differ from most Kyber 1 players. All I tried to do is get a lot of protection. So all protection primaries, because he's going to get 50% extra protection. You just want him to survive. He's getting a lot of turn meter anyway. For Mara Jade's really juicing him up, and the debuffs dispelling, and then shock. He gets lots of turn meter anyway, so I don't worry about his speed. And this is on my main account, which has lots of good mods. And other than that, you want potency, but I also didn't really focus too much on that because he gets extra potency from Mara Jade. He's kind of get a lot of stuff baked in. There's tenacity down. I didn't worry about it too much, but my Palpatine's mods are quite bad. They're quite poor, honestly. Mara Jade, I got some speed on her, 144 speed, got some potency. She's important for the potency more. I didn't load too much up on offense. It was mainly about, potency and the speed. And she is deprioritized in this account, so I can't really use this as a guide. Starkiller, I'm a little... I can't remember why I have speed on him, honestly. I will probably remod him. This is weird. I thought I had offense on him. But I have a lot of health on him. A lot of speed. 165. And some offense. This is strange. I don't even recall this. Let's look at my small account Starkiller. So on my small account, Go Tanks, I do have my R8. Still don't have that Zeta. So he looks almost the same, except my main account's R9. I have offense and health set. 8,000 health, so I had more on my main account, but it's kind of weird modding. 153 speed, I think that's quite good. Crit damage, and lots of offense. So this is what I kind of recommend. Crit chance, I didn't have much extra, but he gets a lot from force energy too, so you don't really have to worry. He's critting almost all the time, unless they have crazy crit avoidance or crit ignore. But yeah, that's his modding. For old Ben, and this is from my main account, I'm just looking at it from my small account. He's deprioritized into basically Oblivion. I mean, I got him some extra speed. He's got extra potency, so that's really important. I think if he's there, that's probably the most important thing, is potency to land the ability block or turn meter reduction. And then for Visas, I'm pretty sure she's also deprioritized into Oblivion. Yeah, 86 speed, that's it. Some survivability, I guess that's all it is to... I guess you'd want her to take turns and not die. She's not a damage dealer, so and she's not an important debuffer, so I just speed, health, and protection if you're focused on that. Now let's look at the Swig.gg mods. So Starkiller, this is the top 1,000 players in Grand Arena. We have the majority using offense and health mods. That is 68%. And that's because you do have that focus. You want a lot of offense and you want a lot of health. So that's a dominant majority. For the arrow, most people are using speed, but 30%, close to 30% are using offense. So that's not insignificant. Crit damage, heavily favored, 87%, just dominant. So highly advised crit damage there. Highly advised health on the circle, and typically pretty dominant offense, 86%. So that's very clear modding. He's a pure damage dealer. You want some health, but most people opt to mainly go for the damage. And this is Palpatine. Most people are doing a speed set, protection, potency. I have like defense sets too. But this is 46% of players, and the second highest percentage is 8% use pure potency. People are using a lot of speed. I explained my philosophy with it. I just want him to not really die. And I don't really use him that much anyway. But people are dominantly using protection on the triangle and the circle because he does juice up his own protection. And most people are using potency. But there is 30% that do use protection on the cross, and that's what I do. Or Jade, I think vast majority of people are doing some kind of speed set. Yeah, 58% do speed and potency. The next is 16% speed and health. Speed and crit chance. It's all speed. You wanted to take turns. You wanted to do debuffs. Basically, everyone's doing speed on the arrow. The triangle is pretty split, honestly, and I don't think it's a huge deal which ones you pick. Crit damage, offense, protection. Those would be the votes. I mean, she has more protection than health. So you want to keep her alive, or you want her to do a little bit more damage. It's fine. Starkiller is the main damage dealer, though. Protection on the circle, because she does have better protection. And then potency, pretty dominant on the cross, 83%. Oh, Ben, I mean, speed and potency, people use it. But again, he's not that important. Most people use speed, protection, potency, and protection on the cross. So kind of like exactly like Palpatine. And then Visas, it's just keep her alive and hope she takes turns at the right time. Most people are just doing health mods. But 29%, that's a pretty high number for a second most popular set choice. 29% are using speed and health. People are giving her speed, just survivability, health prioritized over protection. And that's it. You don't care about her doing debuffs or doing damage. That's kind of just stay alive and maybe take a turn here and there. Now let's talk about what they beat. So I'm in Grand Arena Insights, filtered by the specific team we talked about with Old Ben and Visas selected. I'm looking at all the leagues except Kyber and all divisions. So we're excluding the tippy top of the game, at which point players, it looks a lot different. But the most common counter, and a good counter, people use Palpatine for, is against a Ray team. And I do have some video footage of that from a recent Grand Arena, which I think is a good example. And that's the dominant use. So there's multiple, people use all kinds of random comps with Rays. So if you add them all up, it's thousands and thousands of Rays killed by Starkillers every year. Starkiller on Ray homicide is a big crime problem in Galaxy of Heroes. Some comps are better than others. If you add Ben Solo in there, the win rate goes down. If you have both Resistance Hero Brothers, win rate goes down. Jedi Training Ray is kind of the big killer. Actually, that's the main thing causing this win rate to go down, is because she dodges a lot. So I'll talk about that in the battle I do. But they kind of just dunk on a lot of C-tier teams, Geonosians, Night Sisters. General Skywalker, I say, is more of an A, B tier team, 90%. Grievous, they got the number 83%. Trey's kind of iffy, 57%. Gungans, a pretty good counter for them, but it's, well, actually only 43%. It can work. It's just might be a skill issue. Tuskens are crushing them. CLS kind of iffy. A Starkiller Mirror is actually very safe if you are going first, if you're faster. So you just check for that. Malgus kind of iffy. GL wise, people have told me they beat Jabba with it. JML is a little skewed right now because they got a really powerful Datacron available. Let's search Jabba, because people keep telling me, or no, he's right here. People keep telling me they beat Jabba with Starkiller. Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. If they're using a real comp with, Embo or Boba Fett, it's just over half. So I don't know about that. I wouldn't really chance it too much. And what beats them on defense? Because they are pretty good on defense as well. I had issues with them a couple weeks ago, and I've been told CLS crushes them. It doesn't. It's less than 50% chance, but I've been advised to go for Palpatine first to kill him because he's easier to kill. I went for RJ, didn't quite work because you can't stun them. You gotta remember that because of Starkiller's unique. So you just need to damage them fast. Don't pay attention to Sidious. There's a Datacron right now making him work, so that's whatever. JMK, hard counter, of course. No turn meter game. Reva's going to crush it, Starkiller, all this. Gas is only going to win 31% of the time. Yeah, Mirror 73%, just like we saw. Gungan's actually better than the reverse. Malgus, yeah, that's some chance there. Bo-Katan is only 7%, and that's an epic confrontation character. So that's crazy. Traya, only 49%. Again, there's all leagues other than Kyber. JML, if you bring your JML against Starkiller, you're gonna get shellacked. Though it's kind of hard to beat them. CLS is the most common choice, but it's not that easy. Your best bet is kind of your own Starkiller. Actually, Grievous is kind of popular. I think Stab Omicron definitely helps, but you do a lot of damage, and you want to take out a key enemy first, and then you're gonna get there. Wampa probably would not advise it. But they're pretty good on defense. This is just a really good team, especially in the lower leagues. And now for the demonstration. Typically I'm doing like a galactic challenge, but this is way better because I don't always have a really available archetypal example from a recent Grand Arena or even a Grand Arena I can remember. But this is from a video I did a couple weeks ago. Starkiller is a terror, or maybe last week. It's a terror on both sides of the table in the mid-lead. So that's very appropriate for this video. But this is a Rey, Starkiller vs. Rey video. I did have General Kenobi available, so I used him. And Jedi Cal is my Gear 9. I don't have any Datacrons, so that also helps. And they don't have any Datacrons, so it's actually a pretty good demonstration. So I can easily pause and stop here and there. Rey, pretty much every single time you face her, she can't do her whirlwind. She's not going to do basic. She's going to do her lifeblood, and that gives everyone some protection up, and it gives them all crit immunity while she has full health. So first turn, that's going to happen. And I like to use the first special to dispel that because you want to be able to crit her, because this inspired right here, that is taken away from critting her. So if she has crit immunity, you're not going to get rid of it. And while she has inspired, she gains mastery, or anyone on the team gains mastery while an enemy against turn meter. We got a lot of turn meters, so we really got to control that. They're coming in against GK. So a lot of resists there, but we got some staggers, and Starkiller can come in and dispel the crit immunity on everyone because I have that Omicron, so that's very nice. We're going to keep going all in on Rey with the basic. Palpatine assist, then Starkiller assist. Very nice. I did want to try and stun everyone here, so I used a stun. I got a couple hits. I got Ben Solo, which was most important because he can do a lot of damage or do healing immunity for a long time. I think he may... I don't know if you're... No, Jade Train Rey put healing immunity on him. But yeah, we really want to get Rey under half health so that she can have damage immunity before she goes in ult. So we got that. Mission accomplished. Since she has shock, she can't heal. And now our next mission is to take down Ben. And yeah, that mass assist from General Kenobi is so valuable. So now they both, our key targets are into damage immunity. And since we did that, we can focus on other people. Finn was the next biggest target. And even though we can't do much damage, we only do one, we can crit and get rid of the inspired. And I was trying to stun Ben there, didn't work. But right now, I just want her to use her ult so I can get turns. So I kind of just use basics, kind of wait it out. Starkiller's close to an unleash, but absolutely don't use it when Rey is an ult. But we can use that to heal up, and I think that's coming up soon. So yeah, Starkiller, he got unleashed. Pull the Star Destroyer. Ball it out of the sky. I can't heal. I was pointing to GK. I can't heal him up because he's got healing immunity. But I kill most of them there. And just tap Rey, and she's dead. So it seems like we're in a dominant winning position right now. But also, one thing you got to be careful about We already saw a bunch of dodges. Jedi Training Ray has evasion mastery. So if you don't control her inspired, which I didn't pay close attention to, she can just dodge on and on forever. Now I did hit her, so she doesn't have a million dodge yet. But that is a way you can lose. So you got to be careful for that. Try to manage her inspiration stacks as well. And then Ben, if he has his Omicron, he's going to keep coming back when the leader takes their turn, if anyone's alive. But if you got Ray dead, you're good to go. So that was probably the best demonstration I can get for that. BB-8 doesn't make sense on the enemy team. Kind of a better lineup would be to have Resistance Hero Poe there for a lot of mid-game players. But most of the team that you'll see is there. You know, Ben, Resistance Hero Finn, Jedi Training Ray. And if they don't have Ben there, it's even easier. So Starkiller versus Ray, probably the best value you'll get out of your Starkiller. That's going to be just about it. I didn't really go over Relic Order, but Mara Jade's already Relic if you have Starkiller, and then obviously he's the most important, and then Palpatine after that. But like I'm on my small account, I'm not running relics on everyone, so let that be a comfort to people that don't have everything and relics. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Starkiller for noobs, great character, a lot of fun, really good for a early mid game account. It's pretty easy to get him, and he does a lot for you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. See you later.